What is up, guys? Rick Cacus here, and today we are going to be showcasing a review of one of the brand new exotic weapons added into Destiny 2 with the release of the Curse of Osiris expansion. And that weapon is the Prometheus Lens Exotic Trace Rifle, a weapon that is absolutely broken in PvP. And that's not a word of exaggeration, it's literally broken according to Bungie themselves. Now, to talk about exactly why, we need to do the exotic review of this weapon. Take a look at its stats and perks to find out how it functions in-game, and also take a look at how this weapon performs in PvE, and then, of course, in PvP. Spoiler alert, it's really good. Now, let's get started with the stats and perks of the Prometheus Lens. Stats-wise, it is very similar to the other trace rifle within the game, the Coldheart Exotic Trace Rifle, with a very low impact, but an insane 1,000 rounds per minute rate of fire. Also has an impressive 77 rounds in a magazine. In addition to that, it has pretty high range, decent stability, okay handling, and below average reload speed. What makes this weapon truly unique is its exotic perks, with the first one being the intrinsic perk Prismatic Inferno. Fires a solar trace beam and generates a damaging heat field that grows while the weapon continues to fire. You will see this Prismatic Inferno perk in use very obviously within the background gameplay. When the beam hits a solid object, it will create a little orb. This orb will grow and grow and grow as long as you continue to fire it, and anything within that orb is going to be hit with a area of effect damaging value. Now, in addition to this, it also has another unique perk, and that is Flame Refraction. Kills with this weapon return a fraction of the ammo used to the magazine, extending the beam's duration. So, that is a pretty interesting wombo combo, and let's talk about exactly how it works and move over to the PvE section of this review. So, in PvE, this thing is kind of a monster. If it didn't even have its first intrinsic perk and just had a perk that, upon a kill, it returns ammo to the magazine, it would be an extremely powerful weapon because you can just shoot an enemy, kill the enemy, get the ammo back, keep shooting, keep shooting, keep shooting. This thing is capable of going from enemy to enemy to enemy without ever having to reload, killing just massive amounts of low-level enemies. But this is also in top of the insane exotic perk that creates that orb of damaging area of effect. This can get absolutely out of control, especially when combined with Flame Refraction. Because if you were just to shoot it at the ground, you would create a decent sized area damaging orb. But if you're killing enemies while holding the trigger of this weapon, of course you're gonna reload the magazine, which means you're going to get to shoot longer and longer and longer, and the orb, it gets massive. Like, it actually gets so big it fills up your screen. It is actually ridiculous how big you can get this orb of fire to be as long as you're killing enemies. And with certain enemy types like thralls or like taken scions and stuff like that, stuff that's easy to kill, you can just go off with this weapon. But it also creates a unique dynamic. You are making this massive area of effect, damaging value with this orb, but you also get bonus damage for headshots still. So, do you want to shoot on the ground and damage all 5 thralls at once, or do you want to try to go for the headshots of the thralls, kill them individually a lot faster, right? It is kind of a weird way of using this weapon, and you'll see in the background, a lot of times you aren't going for those headshots because you're trying to damage multiple enemies at the same time. So that's where this weapon is truly impressive, at taking out multiple lower tier enemies at the same time. It's certainly not terrible at taking down one single enemy. If you have, a captain, a yellow health captain, you can definitely take that guy's shields down very easily because it is, of course, an energy weapon. And then, if you're getting headshots, you can take him down as you would with a normal auto rifle. I would say it's similar to. It is nowhere near as good at taking down individual targets as the Cold Heart. The ramp up in damage of the Cold Heart is going to outperform this weapon's just pretty steady damage every single time in a PvE boss battle scenario. Another negative of this weapon is that it is very, very thirsty. It uses up ammo like crazy, and if you rely too much on this weapon, you'll find it very often comes to literally 0 rounds in a magazine, and then you've got to use your kinetic for quite a while until you get enough ammo to start using it again. Because, like I said, you can just go off with the ammo constantly reloading into the magazine. You just keep firing. You are actually getting a benefit from holding the trigger. And in doing so, of course, you make that orb huge, but you're missing a lot, right? You aren't shooting one guy, releasing the trigger, saving your ammo, putting your aim over to the next guy and shooting again. You are holding the trigger, so you are traveling with your laser from one guy to the next guy. And of course, you're missing in between those two enemies. That's just wasted ammunition, you know, in the grand scheme of things. So this can cause some ammo considerations. You're going to be able to whip it out when you see a bunch of enemies, but then don't expect to be using it constantly during a strike or even a public event. So that's how it performs in PvE. Still a very good weapon. If you're a PvE player, you're going to want to get your hands on this. But what's really interesting and what's really got people talking is this weapon's performance in PvP. Because here, it is a melt machine. It is an absolute melt machine. And you can see in the background gameplay how quickly, just how quickly you can kill an enemy in PvP. It is frankly absurd. Now, this was kind of discovered. The first few people got this, took it into PvP, went, wait a minute. Like, I was testing this last night and I was just going, this thing's broken. I only ran into one other person with the Prometheus lens, and the only thing about the Prometheus lens is that it's very obvious when you're using one. You see a red laser like across the map, so you know someone's got it, so you can actually kind of avoid that person if you want to, or get the jump on him with a flank. But again, this weapon kills so fast in a 1v1 engagement and can actually win 2v1s. Like, 2v1s in Destiny are usually just a death sentence, but with this, you actually have a chance. It's a miracle. But again, it's so effective at that. A lot of people, including myself when I was using it, were wondering, is this thing overpowered? And I was preparing for a big debate, but it turns out there's going to be no debate. And if you don't think this weapon's overpowered, well, I'm sorry to say, but you're a little wrong, because Deej, the Bungie community manager, tweeted out this, that the Prometheus lens actually shipped with a bug. So it's definitely doing more damage than normal. It definitely has some sort of bug that gives it an edge in PvP. So it is literally broken. It's not opinion-wise, oh, I think this weapon's so good it's broken. It's literally broken according to Bungie. And I think I know what this bug is. If you can see in the background gameplay, and I'll try to use a clip here that really demonstrates what's going on, a lot of time for like a headshot does 8 damage, and then you have some 6 damage values for other things, and you have some damage values for getting hit with that orb, but sometimes you'll see a 16 thrown in there, or a couple of 16s, and you always wonder, where are these coming from? And in fact, you can sometimes see in gameplay, I will shoot enemies, and I'll either die or disengage, and those enemies will die afterwards. Like, after I've stopped shooting, the couple of 16s will pop up in the damage, and they will then, of course, go from not too much health to dead. And again, when I'm not shooting those enemies. Initially, I thought, well, does this have some sort of burning effect? But burn works a lot differently than just stop shooting, a couple of damage numbers appear, and then that's it. So those couple of extra damage numbers seems to be kind of the thing that pushes this weapon over the edge. Goes from probably a decent weapon to a monster weapon, because you're doing like a chunk of 30 damage more than you're supposed to, essentially, in a very short period of time. And again, when you stop shooting the enemy, when you disengage, when you go around the corner, when you just tag him as he's running by, you are still getting that weird extra bump in damage, and that can really shift gunfights in your favor and get you a lot of kills that you probably weren't supposed to get. Now, with all of that being said, although there's no debate that this weapon is a little broken, there is a debate with, is that a bad thing? I've seen a lot of people on Twitter, and they're kind of winning me over, saying that, by the way, follow me on Twitter at Rickakis, you won't be disappointed, but they're saying that, this weapon feels like a Destiny 1 weapon, and it really does. The time to kill you can achieve with the Prometheus lens is similar to the weapons in Destiny 1, and it kind of feels good. You don't feel like you're just pecking away at someone. You feel like you're really doing damage, and especially with an exotic. The exotics in Destiny 2, previous to this expansion, have been so bland, and except for the Mida multi-tool, which is just a glorified normal scout rifle, it hardly feels that exotic. They really don't see any play in PvP, but now you have this crazy red laser beam that's causing an orb of destruction, and you're shooting people. It feels really good. You feel like a legend. Destiny's motto is become legend. That's what you feel like when you're using this weapon. It feels like a true exotic weapon that you can only have one of in your inventory, right? And it's just such a special and cool looking and cool behaving thing. And I do think it needs a little bit of a nerf because that after damage thing is pretty ridiculous, but I almost hope Bungie leaves this as a very strong weapon, and we can get other exotics similar to this. And so giving up your exotic slot is actually a reasonable thing to do. Right now, so many people run in PvP with all legendaries, and it's kind of a sad sight. This is going to make you reconsider that. Until it gets nerfed, people are going to be darn well using up their exotic slot in PvP. And although, again, I don't like the overpowered nature of this weapon, I like that. I like that concept, that this is an exotic that feels exotic, that acts exotic, that people are really wanting to get. We haven't had a weapon that people were really, really gunning for in Destiny 2, I think, till this moment. This is the new Vex Mythoclast. This is the new Fatebringer in essence, because it does have that insane power potential, and unfortunately is likely to go away soon with a nerf. But that's just my opinion. What do you guys think? Those of you who have it and don't have it, what do you think of this whole scenario? Let me know in the comment section. But guys, that is it for the video, and I hope you enjoyed and found this informative. If you did, please remember to help me out by simply rating and especially sharing this video. If you guys want to see more Destiny 2 content similar to this, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. And if you guys want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at Rickakis. That's linked in the description down below, as is my Twitch channel, which you can also follow. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.